think you're doing pretty good though.
Learn.
This is quite a setup.
Yeah, well, I had the background from like, we just briefly kind of went over like you bought one of my old cameras when I was upgrading. I was into that like whole photography thing.
Yeah.
In like the bodybuilding sphere, and I think we probably got out of that for both like the same reasons. Like it was kind of a little toxic, and
yeah.
just
Was that
wasn't
your
feeling
experience with it too?
Yeah, especially like when I got into the photography stuff. Like I found like everybody kind of wanted like my services, but they didn't want to pay for it. Like they were going to be the
Right.
next best thing, and they were going to be
Right.
the superstar, and their pictures were going to catapult me to like.
That's hilarious.
The top.
Yeah.
When in reality, like I started taking pictures because like me and my girlfriend, wife now, Caitlin, were doing like a ton of hiking and camping, and she was always like, "Hey, like, do you remember when we did this?" And I was like, "Oh, not really."
Right.
And she'd be like, "Oh, here, look at these pictures. Like this was super fun." I was like, "Oh, well, maybe we should start taking pictures of stuff."
Like good ones.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
mom was always super into it. She was like she was a film camera gal.
Oh, really?
And I was always so resistant to taking pictures because mom was like, you moved. And it was like, you got kids. I'm sure everybody's got a phone now. It's like, take a picture.
Yeah.
And she was like hauling that rig out, and it was a huge friggin', film camera.
I'm running to go get film.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, hold on. I gotta put some more film in. It was like, oh man, it was always like such a process.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of why I got into it. And then like anything, I kind of get a little bit, like I go all in, like I kind of go deep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right? So
it is so true.
yeah, it's just, I don't know, for better or worse, whatever. Some stuff probably for best. And
I think it's good overall. I think it's like it's a superpower.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Sometimes I feel like it's a curse, but yeah, no, it kind of got me to here. I had the stuff laying around, and I was just kind of thinking about cool ways to engage with people. And like, I've never huge on social media. And I know you said like, you really like, pumping out the content and you can always use more. And I was just like, man, like, I don't want to be like that annoying realtor guy, but I want also people to know that I'm doing it. Cause I think I know I started like the first year, like in that like corporate mindset where like, oh, it's just going to come to me.
Right.
And I'm sure right.
No. That's a learning. I feel like that's a huge learning curve. I think that no matter what industry you're in, like whether, no sweat, like whether you're, hustling houses or fitness programs or G-Wagons or, photography, whatever it is that you're doing, I think that you have to be, especially today, you have to be very comfortable getting on camera, miking up, and like being the annoying realtor guy or being the annoying fitness girl or whatever you want to call it. And I guess, for me, like my mindset on that shifted so much when I realized like there's no way that I'm going to be able to make the impact that I want to make without, putting on a mic and getting on camera and like saying what I want to say essentially. Right. So yeah, I very much have had to also like just get over the concept of being like, oh, am I annoying people? And, am I constantly like jamming the same messaging down people's throats all the time? But honestly, like people aren't going to remember who you are or what you do or what you sell because you pumped out one piece of content with one message. You have to take that same message and basically recycle it and regurgitate it 400 billion times. And then you have a fully like stocked Instagram page, like a feed full of messaging that lands with your clients. And then you become like the guy that believes in X, the guy that wants to serve his clients in X way. And you know what I mean? Like, this is how I do my process, and people get to know you that way.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is they get to see us and me in my content and you and yours, chatting about, different topics on whether it's in the podcast. Some of my reels maybe might be hard to get a little bit of feel for like my personality because it's like, 3 risk factors in the real estate, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like whatever. But like here, people can kind of get a feel for who I am before they reach out.
100%.
So I think it's, and just from speaking from experience, like, I met my realtor in the gym. He was just like, hey, my real.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey, I sell houses. And it was like, very much like, and they say like, you know, you probably know one or two realtors, and if you don't, you're picking the first one that pops up.
100%.
So
Yeah.
for me, people get to look at my content, see what I'm about.
Yeah.
You know, see I'm not all about just a transaction. Like I like to build a community. Like this is the whole point, because it's not fun to come up on your own. And I probably said it, and I sound probably like a broken record for anybody that consistently follows. But I'm very much like, if you're in my circle and you have a service and I need it or can support it in any way, like that's what I'm about. Like I grew up rurally. You only had so many electricians, plumbers,
right?
You know, so you supported your community.
Yeah.
I found it. It's a little lacking lately, I find. And,
in Halifax, you find?
Well, not since I've kind of come into to this business and kind of found some spheres of people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
But
you really have to create it, I find. Like you, and I think it's really cool that you're all about that, because I mean, I'm new on the scene. I'm not new to Halifax. And I feel like I have a pretty decent network, but new to the entrepreneurial 100%. Sort of space. Oh, Jesus. And like the small business community, I guess, of Halifax. And for me personally, like, I don't know if it's just because I have that personality where I'll go out and like beat down doors to do whatever I need to do to meet people.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, but like I found it to be so receptive and just so kind, and especially not to, you know, make it about like women versus men or whatever, but like the female entrepreneurial community in Halifax in particular has been what I've really connected with
100%.
Just because of the giveaways that I've done. I've like linked up with other small business owners because they just frankly offered services that I really like, you know, like the Bedford Skin Clinic or like House of Moda or any, you know. But I found I was like flabbergasted when I started to reach out to these very well-established, well-known businesses, and it was just like completely received with open arms, like so kind. And, you know, again, not to be negative, but that's not always the case with women. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you really gotta, it takes a while to sort of get in, you know what I mean? It can be a little cliquey and stuff, but I found none of that. None of that. No, it's just been like, what's up? You're doing this. Oh my God, we support you. We love it. We're here for you. What do you need? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear, and very much a similar experience. I mean, I'm sure, like in the real estate sphere, you know, I mean, there's a lot of us, and in the entrepreneurial sphere, everyone's competitive. Yeah. But in the same sense, it's like, you know, there's enough cake for everyone. So if you could collaborate with others, and help each other come up, I mean, that's the whole point, and that's the point of the podcast. And to your point, anybody that I've reached out to meet for coffee, happy to do it. I've had one person, and I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. Yeah. One person said no. Yeah. And one person out of the 25 people, I think you're the 25th. Yeah. Said no.
Episode number 25.
Right. But, you know, very well received. Everybody's always seemingly open to have a chat, talking. I mean, if you're passionate about what you do and you have an opportunity to get on a platform, I'm not Joe Rogan or anything, but you know, I got a few followers and we're getting good traction on the reels, and it gets your word out there. And to your point, like I was very much of the opinion in the past, like, oh, I'll do a couple posts and I'll blow up or whatever.
No, you know, it's like you gotta hammer it. Yeah. Anyone that you look at, like, I think, you know, sure, there's going to be the random person who's like gone viral, right? You know, from like one post or something like that. But literally look at any person that you know, that you follow on social media, that you admire what they do, that you're like, oh man, like I want like, oh, they've got like all these followers and all this engagement on their stuff. And I love the content that they pump out. It's like, man, but scroll back. Right? Scroll back.
Watch
and if you go back far enough, and like chances are if it's someone that's really established, like you're going to be scrolling for a while because they've pumped out a shitload of content. 100%. And you can watch the evolution of it. You know what I mean? You can see the polish sort of start to come on, and like everything starts to look more cohesive or whatever. I mean, I guess it really depends on like the person that you're following. And then I feel like sometimes once people get to a certain point where they have like so many followers, you look at like, for instance, like a Gary Vee. There's nothing cohesive about his, like it doesn't all look the same.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You
It's not about
point,
aesthetic.
yeah.
You get to a point where like, okay, it's just the Wild Wild West. You can kind of do whatever you want. But it is interesting though. Yeah. Like I think that a lot of people are like, okay, I'm just going to buy a fancy camera and like buy a mic. And then it's all just going to come to me. It's like, no, you're going to have to, first of all, figure out how to use those things, which you could attest to. It's not an easy skill.
Yeah, I still make mistakes.
Oh my God. And the technical difficulties that you run into. But yeah, like you have to really learn like how to actually make good content. And I think that I just recently actually hired a business coach. And one thing that we've been working on a lot is how you need to understand who your ideal client actually is, like really know them, and then start to make content that caters exactly to their pain points and their pleasure points and what they're experiencing. And I feel like that's kind of the magic sauce. And so recently that's exactly what I've been personally working on, is just like trying to get a very clear image of that like ideal client avatar. What does that person look like? And what are they feeling? What does their day look like? What do they do? What do they like? What do they hate? And then making content that caters specifically to that.
Yeah, you got to find your niche, right?
Oh,
is it niche or niche?
That is up for debate.
Right.
I say niche.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, I say niche. My coach says niche.
Okay.
But if you do call it a niche, there is a cool saying, which is that the riches are in the niches, which I think that's pretty cool. You can see the reaches are in the niches.
Yeah. Hey. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think, if you, the sort of, the more her whole thing that she says, and I know it's been said time and again, is that the more niche that you are, the more you're recognized as like a specialist in your industry versus especially like, I know both of us are, I guess, in pretty saturated industries, but like particularly the online fitness space is like, I mean, it's so overdone. There's just so much of general sort of fluffy coaches that are just like, I'm going to like make you feel your best or whatever, you know what I mean? Versus, the verbiage and language that you would use if you're speaking to a very, very specific audience would be like, I help women 25 to 40 years old who are like neurodivergent or have ADHD. I'm going to help you build habits and systems and routines that will help you build confidence and live a healthy lifestyle. It's like, that's pretty specific.
Right.
So if you land on my page, I mean, there might be parts of my content, like for instance, the ADHD stuff that land with you, but there's not but it's not going to be for everybody then, right? And I think people hesitate to niche down because they're like, but I don't want, like to not appeal to the, for instance, for me, a big thing is I'm like, well, I don't want to not appeal to men because I love men. I have great relationships with a lot of men in my life. But that's really not, I have a way better chance at helping someone who I have established. It's not about who you like. I love everybody. You know what I mean?
I try
like,
to too.
Yeah, and I know you're that type of person too. I'm like, I've got a lot of time for everyone. So it's easy to want to help everybody, but sometimes you got to check yourself and be like, but who can I really help? You know what I mean? Because I have worked with a couple of men and it's a bust. It's like, it's not, I just can't help them in the same way that I can help a woman who is like a new mom, who has ADHD, who can't get her shit together and like figure out how to fuel her body properly and move her body. So if I, it's not just about me. I have to go, okay, who do I have the best crack at like really helping? And then the more niche that I go, the more someone that is my ideal client is going to land on my page and be like, your content makes me feel like you are reading my mind.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. I can't believe that this service exists. Like, holy shit. Wow. There's a person that can teach me about fitness and blah, blah. And it's specifically for like new moms with ADHD, right? Which isn't exactly what I've been doing, but so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like then the automatically like all the DMs that you'll get and stuff like that are just really qualified leads already because you've already weaved out so many questions.
And that's exactly like going back to what I said, like, you're catering to your niche, like women are your thing. And I love your content. That's why I reached out. And I'm always like, I'm attracted by like people that like run their business like with passion and like they care, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you can very much tell, like, and I have had a hard time with it, you know, because I got like forced out of my old job, restructured, non-performance related. Unilever, great company. But when I pivoted, and you know, I had to go study for my real estate license, and when I pivoted, I was so hungry to get back to like my financial comfort level,
Right.
that I was so focused on the transaction that I was losing what was really important. It was like growing the relationship with your clients.
Right.
So there's some tough lessons up front, because I'm sure I'm like you, like I'm motivated, I'm ready to go, I'm hungry, and I'm competitive. So like, you know, and you know very much in the social media sphere, as an entrepreneur, things don't always come as fast as you want them to. So
No, it takes time.
I found when I focused myself on doing value-added content, thinking about when I bought my first home, I knew nothing.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
I didn't do any research. And if you would have been I'd been like, Chloe, you're the realtor, tell me everything. I don't got time for shit.
Yeah.
So now, like, I'm like, well, I was sitting there asking these questions, and you know, I was young at the time when I bought you know, me and Caitlin bought this place like 8 years ago.
Right.
So we were kind of hesitant to ask questions because they're the professional. We don't know anything, but
Right.
so
And that's literally the job.
Exactly.
Is to answer the questions, right?
So my content, like, people probably think I'm doing it for me and to make me money. Now that is a byproduct, obviously, a positive byproduct, but like, I'm making the content for you guys.
Right.
I want to answer questions that maybe you're too nervous to ask people.
Right.
And then, you know, if you have other questions, you know, hopefully the content makes you comfortable enough with me to reach out. And I'm very well much in the infancy of doing this. Like, I just started pumping out content mid-December. And like, you could say, look back at my page, like, lighting sucks, the framing sucks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was doing it.
That's the thing. And sometimes it's like done. And I've been big on pushing this lately. Sometimes, and especially when you're just getting going, it's counterintuitive to anything that we have ever been taught. But in the beginning, it is, I think, like Gary Vee does like make a lot of sense when he's like, quantity over quality in the beginning. Just get it out there. Start to just like, you know, start to like grease the wheels a little bit. You know what I mean? And just like figure out, because in the beginning, it is very much throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? You're just like, I'm just going to throw spaghetti at the wall here and see what sticks.
Just throwing pots.
And it's the pots and pots and pots and hours and hours and hours of work,
right?
though. And it's so much work.
It is a lot.
It's so much work. Like, you can, in my week, it's crazy. Like, now it started to get a little bit out of control lately, how much time I'm spending like making content. Because the other thing too is I love it, right? The creative process of it is like it's a ball.
I've never pegged myself as a creative guy, but like,
definitely
can't really say that now.
Oh my God. Yeah. Look around. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that like the creativity, and like the sort of entrepreneurial spirit and creativity are fully they're woven together. Very much, you know, all part of the same fabric. I think, like, I've never met somebody who is entrepreneurial and yes, sure, there are people who have that entrepreneurial spirit who are also very like analytical and, you know, logical thinkers. So they'll dismiss their creativity and be like, no, like, that's not really me. But dude, yeah, it's always there.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, if you want to create something from the ground up,
you got to wear all the hats.
You got to wear, yeah, exactly.
Or you got to hire. And a lot of people starting out don't have that ability.
No, 100%. And I mean, once you get to the point where you can go and hire like a virtual assistant, or you can start to outsource
I got one if you need one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
One of my best buds, clients of mine, Gail Engelbretson.
Okay.
Sorry if I butchered that, but
in fairness, it sounds like a tough one.
Wave Consulting, also female-ran business.
Oh, I love that. Okay, yeah.
She's super awesome.
Okay.
She also runs another business called Maze Things.
Things.
She started both of these businesses when she was on mat leave. You should talk to her.
Oh, actually. Wow. Sounds like my kind of gal.
Yeah. Started at mat leave. Started Maze Things. It's like she'll get like used clothing.
Okay.
that people don't want. And she'll often buy it for like whatever they want, and then she'll resell it. So it's kind of like a reselling thing.
Okay, cool.
And it's baby clothes oriented. And
Oh, nice.
I think
Okay.
she does like some donations too. And, it's just like a side hustle to keep her busy while she's on mat leave. And also, in turn, it's been kind of generating a little bit of side income because, she had to go on mat leave and didn't have her full salary.
Right.
And,
If she was self-employed. And
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then we were looking for a place. And they were like, yeah, we need a bigger place because, we're just in an apartment. We got Maeve, sorry. And they're like, yeah, we need a new place. So they hired me. It was like my first clients. It was awesome.
Really? Oh, that's
We
awesome.
got them a place just down in Middle Sackville, beautiful spot.
Love it.
And they were like, yeah, we need a new spot because we think we maybe have another kid in like a
Oh my
year
gosh,
or
they're
two.
moving again.
No, this was
Oh,
while
okay,
we were
okay.
looking
Oh, okay,
in
yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're at a showing and Gail's like, hey, can I talk to you? And I was like, shit, they're going to fire me or something. And they're like, yeah, our plans changed.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, we're going to have a kid, like another kid in 9 months.
Oh, no way.
So we got the house. She was
Aw.
just getting pregnant. Anyway, so she started this whole virtual consulting business
Yeah.
while on mat leave for the second time.
No way.
And I think she's actually been like super busy. A little bit of a
Good.
rough patch getting a few things going, like just like administratively. But
Yeah.
I'm very much getting close to requiring one for sure because
Yeah.
the scheduling and the all the paperwork and the all the things.
Yeah, all of the admin
I could-
is just like, oh,
Yeah.
anyway.
I don't want to give it all away because there's like part of me that I need to have some control.
Well, and it's
Is that bad?
interesting. No, I think especially as it pertains to the content piece. Outsourcing like copywriting and stuff like that to me is just like, I feel like you're just, I mean, sure, there are people who are going to be good at attempting to emulate your voice,
Right.
but I don't know, man. Like, there's certain elements of the marketing sort of flow that I feel like it would be fine to have someone else writing, for instance, an email for you or whatever. It's like, okay, that I could live with. But to have somebody writing my captions on my Instagram post, no. Like, that's
Yeah.
me. That's my
Yeah.
voice. And that's my number one way that I'm like getting clients.
Yeah, like
So-
people probably notice if it wasn't you. Eh?
Yeah.
Unless you're
well,
giving them the script and they're just posting it.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe that's just like totally conceited to think that people would know the difference, but it would just be for me. I'm like, like I would see that and like my eye would twitch. Like I'd just be
Right.
like, no, I'm going to need to do that myself.
Do you
And-
hear of ChatGPT?
Okay, yes. So, and then that's the other part of it too, is I feel like to get ideas, that would be, I haven't actually used it,
You
but
should.
yeah. I feel like to get ideas, yes. But then I feel like it gives you the bones of like some really good content, but then you got to go in and like feather in your own voice.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like for instance, like I use it as a tool to create content in the sense that it's like, what are 3 things people shouldn't buy when they're looking to buy a home?
Oh my God. Okay, I do need to get on this.
Right? And
yeah.
then it's like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, write it as if you were a realtor speaking to an audience. And it's like, okay, it'll rejig it a little bit. And then I take that and I'll kind of like take what I want out of it. I'll tape it under that camera and I just sit here and I have some of it memorized. Sometimes you'll see, I can't remember everything. So sometimes you'll see my eyes glance
Yeah.
at the page, but I very much use it for a tool to generate content because half the problem I think people have with generating content, and keep in mind, I'm not an expert, but I had to meander through this and make it as efficient as possible to get through the rest of my day.
Yeah.
ChatGPT or any AI-based system, I think Bing's got one. I've messed around with it a little bit.
Okay.
Just to pull, it takes out the research.
Right.
Because, and I mean, that thing, I even got it to write me some like code, like programming languages. Like it can write code. I was like, hey, for example, I have a Google Sheet. It's got clients in it.
Right.
And I was like, hey, I need you to extract the first and last name and address and postal into a mailing label template. Write me the code in Python.
No way.
And it goes boop, 30 seconds. And you can, even a button pops up where you can copy. And if you have a Python program, you can paste it in and it would ran the code. Yeah, man, it's really, you got to fact check your shit, but I haven't found any mistakes yet.
I mean, yeah, it's insane. I think about like the way that will impact universities
It
and
can
everything.
make your schedule.
Make your schedule?
Say, okay, let's just say you had to be here for Okay. Did you have to drop the kids off on the way here?
Yeah, I had to drop, my youngest, yeah.
So at 8 or?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're like, all right, so let's just take today, for example. You're like, all right, ChatGPT, maybe you did it last night. Make me my agenda for Friday. I got to drop the boys off at daycare. I got to be at Chris's for the podcast at 9. He's in Middle Sackville. Maybe you got a meeting down in Dartmouth at 1:30, and then you got to be downtown for like a hair appointment at 3. And you're like, hey, make me a schedule for the day with all this, and it'll literally go, all right, you got to wake up this time. You got to be here, there, and blah, 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 blah. And then if you have the repeating...
Can you like make it for Google Calendar?
That's a great question.
It probably has templates.
That's a great question. But it'll literally make you like an agenda for the day.
That's so good.
And speaking of Google Calendar, I have a Google Home there.
Okay.
And I never thought of it. I was sitting there, I was like plugging in stuff in my calendar, and I go, wait a minute. I just go, it'll probably answer me, but I go, hey, Google, schedule a new event.
Right.
You might have not heard.
What's the title of the event?
Right?
Oh my God, that's so
And then
cool.
I'll go, Chloe, podcast.
Okay, when is the event?
Tomorrow, 9 a.m.
All right, then I'll go Chloe podcast tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Do you want to save that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good.
And then it's in your calendar.
See, I use, so like this is actually one of the videos that I've got like planned for all of the like ADHD content that I do. Is just like how to hack your iPhone. And honestly, I just tell Siri to do everything. Like I'll be like, so say we're sitting here and we're having a conversation and then whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So like whatever, like next week we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I just am literally like, hey Siri, remind me next Thursday at 9 a.m. that I'm going to call Chris at 10 a.m. And then just like,
yeah,
boom,
same idea.
Right? And then,
yes.
oh, sorry, all of our robots are starting to interfere.
Don't listen to us.
Yeah.
I added it.
Yeah, and or I'll be like, hey, because I find sometimes the reminders are like a little weak if it's something that I'm like really concerned about, and if it's like within 24 hours, then I'll use an alarm.
Right.
So if I'm like, oh, okay, I know that I need to pick up onions on the way home, and I'm gonna forget to pick up onions on the way home, and I'll be like, hey Siri, set an alarm for 4:30 and label it
onions.
Pick up onions.
Yeah,
exactly. So I seriously, no word of a lie, like I do that 5 times a day, and it's the only way that I remember to do anything. I'm supposed to update a client's program, that I'm supposed to have a coaching call, because I just fully don't remember anything.
There's a lot of stuff up here.
There's just too much going on.
If I don't have it in my notebook,
it's a lot of genius.
My calendar, right? yeah.
It's all genius.
We'll call it genius.
Yeah.
That's what we got up there. Genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm fully on board. I think, kind of goes back to the ADHD thing, but like, I got to write it down. And it's like, if you're talking to me too, like I got to be like, if we're having a conversation and I'm looking on something over here, like I hear what you're saying,
but don't.
It's going,
oh my God.
Like my wife is like, well, I told you that. I was like, listen, Caitlin, I love you.
You might have.
But did you have like my full attention?
Yeah.
Like, was I looking at you? She was like, no, you're doing something else. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just for the record, like, not to be mean, but like, if I'm not looking at you, there's 99% chance.
It,
like, it's just like background noise.
Yeah.
Because I'm focused. I'm just like super focused on whatever I'm doing, that I just like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's like a hyper focus. I think, a big thing too for me is literally like, it's even like in this situation here. So there's like just the lights and the whatever. There's no element. I'm used to cameras and lights and mics and all this. It doesn't make me nervous, but it distracts me a little bit. It's a little bit of like it's a stimulus.
Yeah.
Right. So I
sensory
think a lot
overload.
of sensory overload. And I, especially like as a mom.
Oh, you're trying to take everything in. Danger.
Oh, no,
trying to stop everything.
There's just the 5 p.m. just full freak out that I have every single day when it's like the TV is going. I've accidentally left open all of the cupboards and the dishwasher's open because I'm unloading the dishwasher. The sink is running. The TV's on bus, and then the 2 kids are screaming, and then Ben comes in, comes home from work, and it's like, and I'm just like, like I need to go just like sit down and be in a dark room and turn all the lights off and just, yeah.
Sure, a lot of new moms are moms with 2 kids could definitely relate.
Oh my God, yeah. And I
You
think
got 2,
that
right?
yeah, there's
Yeah,
2.
2.
Yeah. I've got 2 boys, and they're 3. Well, my youngest little guy, he's gonna be 3 on Monday,
Wow.
and I know, which is just like so insane. And then Shawnee, my oldest, he's gonna be 5 in August. So
Wow.
it's just like it's so
Time.
busy. It's, between them and then just like trying to make sure that my house isn't a complete shit pit all the time, and like work. Oh Jesus, I'm like determined to pull this thing out.
That's all good.
And work and trying to like stay in shape and just it's just all life. It's crazy.
That
There's a
is
lot going
crazy.
on. There's a lot to manage.
Absolutely. Well, I had a couple questions for you. I know we've
Okay.
been kind of naturally talking here, and I
Yep.
think probably some people got a good idea of who you are. But anyway, we're a little late with the introduction, but wanted to welcome you to come on the show, Chloe Smith, coached by Chloe. So I think we got a little bit about who you were, but if you want to kind of layer in a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so
Because for the viewers,
Like-
we met almost 7, 8 years ago.
yeah.
We were both in the fitness sphere.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a while.
It
so.
has. It has been a while. I feel like it's funny, like those sort of, I feel like we would be sort of like fringe, like people that kind of come in and out of your life, and it's hilarious. But we just, I guess, have ended up having very similar interests over the years.
100%.
But yeah, so I don't know, today, I guess I'm an online lifestyle coach. So fitness and nutrition and kind of life coaching is definitely my jam.
Yeah.
Big personal development gal. I am a mom. I have 2 little babies. Very passionate about mental health, ADHD. I love to talk about all of that. I'm busy,
I
really
can
busy.
see
I'm
it.
a wife,
I
mom.
love it. I love motivated people.
Yeah, and
It motivates me to see people putting in the work, and then I'm like, I got to put in more work.
Me too. I think, I guess, but I haven't always been that way. I have always been the type of person that, like, if I set my mind to something and I decide that I want it, like, good luck to anybody that tries to get in my way.
Yeah, man.
My parents would attest to that. I was like definitely a hard-headed child, and that hasn't really changed.
My grandpa used to call me Old Hard Rock
Hard rock, yeah,
because I had a hard head.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my grandpa right there, actually.
Aw.
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
God.
not around anymore, but he's a pretty big influential guy in my life.
Oh
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is he your
Dad's dad.
Dad's dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
lived I could basically hit his house with a rock, just up
From
the-
here?
Like when I grew up down in
Oh,
Argyle,
okay.
down the South Shore.
Okay.
In Argyle specifically, we were just on a dirt road laneway, rural
Yep.
Nova Scotia, and they were
Yep.
at the top. And then there was
Aw.
one house, which used to be my aunt and uncle's,
Yep.
and then there's ours, and then there's the ocean.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, they're
The
right.
South Shore is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
mom
so
and them
nice.
they're, I wouldn't call them ignorant. They're nice people, but mom's like, I don't understand all the people that are all up in arms about being on the water. She's like, I've been here my whole life. It's not that big a deal. I was like, spoken with true ignorance. It's like, you're just accustomed to it and take it for granted. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, yeah, he's a huge influential part of my life. So yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought here. We'll cut it out.
Yeah,
but.
no, yeah.
But yeah, no, motivated people definitely drive this is the whole point of the podcast. It's just to get the voice out there. And yeah, you always, in your past, you didn't start out as a kind of motivational kind of trainer and
No.
lifestyle coach.
Yeah.
I knew you. I think you cut my hair once. You were
Yeah.
a hairstylist.
Yeah, back when I was the hair girl.
So what drove you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, man, it's been a ride. I feel like, which is probably how everybody feels.
Yeah, I can
yeah, I
attest to
think
that.
so. I mean, fitness has always been a huge passion of mine. Growing up, I definitely I did not have an easy time socially. I really struggled. I've opened up a lot about that recently. Just with bullying, and just my mental health was not good. And
Right.
so for me, for a really long time, the gym and fitness was just a safe space for me. I felt like it was there. It might have been a lot of other areas in my life. I felt like I was failing, not as I was a good student and stuff like that, but it just the gym has always just been a place where I felt like I was winning because as long as you show up, basically you win, you know, like you can't really fail at it. So as long as you're like consistently showing up and doing the things, then you're always getting a little bit better. Even if you don't see physical results, you're always growing mentally just to like force yourself through hard things,
Discipline.
right? Yeah. And I think that discipline is something that I definitely did lack. And even like, it's still a struggle for me today. Like, again, not that I hate when people just blame everything on, they're like, oh, ADHD this and that. But I know myself and I know where these things come from, which is good. But yeah, so I feel like that's where the gym has taught me so much about myself. I eventually got into, I went to hair school and I did become a hairstylist. I worked for a salon for like a very short period of time. Then I actually got fired. And when I got fired, I went off. Oh yeah. I went off and did my own thing and it ended up being a huge blessing. And then, and funny enough, actually, I have an amazing relationship with like the guy that owns the salons that I worked at. And he ended up hiring me back after I went and built my own clientele. Oh. So he actually hired me back years later, which was just a full circle moment. So that was amazing.
Would you say it was a little lapse in his judgment?
No, definitely not. No, I got fired because I was like off in Vegas partying and just like didn't come back to work. So it was totally earned.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It was totally earned.
I appreciate the honesty.
I was not a star employee, no. But was always great with clients. And anyways, it ended up being a huge blessing. I started like a mobile hair business out of like a little suitcase living in an apartment with my mom. And I eventually started going around to people's houses and doing their hair. And then I eventually got a place where I like had my own setup in my house. And then that eventually
was on the Bedford Highway?
Yeah, and on the Bedford Highway. So first it was up in West Bedford on Innovation Drive. I had like a den in my apartment that I was living in. It was like 2-bedroom and a den. Anyways. Yeah. And then the one that I had on the Bedford Highway was just basically like, you saw it. There was no furniture. It was just like a studio. Yeah. And then I just had like a bedroom off to the side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely always had that entrepreneurial bone in me. Always like, yes, driven. Just sometimes driven to the wrong things, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I think I am definitely, I think I've sort of polished those parts of me, I guess, now at this stage of my life. And yeah, I think that the fitness thing is completely unsurprising to anyone that's known me for a long time, that I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, no, and I think it makes all the sense. Like it's funny because sometimes it takes you longer to figure out what you should be doing than the people that know you. As soon as I said, oh God, I'm gonna like, I want to start being a trainer. I want to coach. Like this is shit. I think this is a real nugget I've got here. Yeah. And everyone around me was like, you think? You should have been doing this for so long. So I think the parts of doing hair that I loved were, first of all, I loved it way more when I was running my own business. I loved the creative process. I loved building something. I loved that it felt like it started with just kind of, like I said, like a little nugget that sort of like, picked up momentum. And eventually after I had my own space, like in my home, I did move into the student union building down at Dalhousie. I ended up like renting a space there. So I did have kind of like a commercial space for a period of time. And then I ended up going back to school at Dal. So,
did you?
Yeah. Because,
what did you take at Dal?
So I was doing all of my like health science prerequisites for the fast track nursing program. Okay. And then, yeah. And so this was like, I got pregnant when I was in school with Shawnee. Oh. So, yeah. So I was, so it's like a really difficult program to get into. And I got accepted and I was like supposed to go in September, but I was due in August.
Oh no.
And this is me. Like, I was just like, okay, well, I got a month. I'm like, no problem. We were also living in Truro. And
I remember I remember you moved, and that was kind of like where
we lost contact.
Yeah. Not that we had like a lot, but I just like,
I went off the grid.
Yeah. And like, the algorithm doesn't push anyone to me from Truro.
Yeah. Like I moved away because my husband, Ben, is a car dealer. And so when we first got together, he had just acquired Truro Mazda. So we started dating like immediately as soon as he was in the province. And this is the point at which I was on the Bedford Highway. So this was right around actually probably when I would have seen you last.
Really?
Yeah. And anyway, yeah. So we did this sort of like, back and forth. 3 nights there, 3 nights at my place. I was going back and forth to Truro. And that was when I decided, you know what, I'm going to get rid of my place and I'm going to move my business into the student union building down at Dal, and I'll just commute. and I moved to Truro, and then I ended up going to school, and I had some classes at the Truro campus and some classes down at the downtown campus. But anyways, yeah, I think I did sort of, it's great. I still use all of what I learned in school. Like it was all about, I did all of my anatomy and physiology and psychology and microbiology and all of that. So it was definitely worthwhile. I do really love being a student. I miss school, and there's parts of me that like think about that all the time, even up until recently. Like, oh, maybe I should finish my degree.
Yeah, I was a terrible student.
Yeah, oh, really?
Well, I don't know. It just goes back to like, I don't want to get off on a tangent and throw you off, but it just goes back to like, and I apologize for anyone that actually has it. Like I haven't been like officially diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure like there's definitely something going on. But like I just like, I don't know, I'd have to be interested in the subject to do
100%.
well in it. So it's like marketing. I was like, oh, brands, marketing, strategy. That's cool.
Right.
Got an A in that class.
Right.
Communications.
Yeah.
C. I was like,
right.
You want me to sit here and
Which is
learn
hilarious.
how to write an email? Now I got ChatGPT can do it for me.
We didn't
with
know
no
that
mistakes,
then, though.
right?
Yeah.
But it was like I had to be into it. So if you couldn't like keep me engaged, and I'm very much like I like to do it. I like to do the stuff.
Right.
I learn the best, like jiu-jitsu, for example. Like I'm a huge jiu-jitsu guy.
Okay, yeah.
And it happens all the time. Like my buddies are my coaches.
Right.
And they know. They're like, do you need us to do that drill again? And I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, hey, Chris, are you paying attention?
Yeah.
But then I can just watch
Story
them do
of
it,
my entire
right?
life. Yeah.
But then I can just watch them do it once and it's good. And
Right.
then I can just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it's like you got to get my focus over there. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, the professor's talking in university, and then I'm thinking about the assignment I got due tomorrow that I probably didn't start yet. Or like,
right.
I mean, I did good in the end, but it took me a while because, like in high school, it was just like I'm just gonna play hockey, and like I didn't study.
Right.
And I got good grades, and nothing was prepared.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
when you were in university, were you playing hockey in university too?
No,
or?
high school. I broke my leg in the tail end of like
Ooh.
grade 11, and I made like the junior C team, which is really nothing in Yarmouth.
Yeah.
And the idea at the time was like, oh, if I made the junior C team, maybe I'd get affiliated with our A. And then, you know, I had the big aspirations when I was a kid to be in the NHL. And then I figured out in grade 7 that I was going to be 5'6" for the rest of my life. And dreams were shattered, and I had to focus on the next best thing. So
Relatable. Yeah.
Right?
I was like I was super into volleyball, and then I was like, this sport has outgrown me.
right, not
I am
enough hops.
5'3" and I
Yeah.
can't jump for shit. So I'll be a great libero, but that's
Right.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the point at which I started to get like super into the gym. Was
Yeah.
when I just like I always loved sports, and like growing up, I mean in like junior high school I played every single sport.
Yeah.
Like as I just wanted to try out for every single team, and I loved it, and I did. I played a bunch of them, but like the only thing that I was ever really any good at was volleyball. And then also gymnastics, and then
Nice.
but then that just evolved into like I remember at the age of like when I say I've been into the gym for forever, I remember in junior high, so I would have been oh my god, how old? 11? Like I did grade
I started
7,
working out really young.
11, yeah. And then and then I remember begging my mom. I was like, I really wanted a gym membership because it was like I went to Cavalier Drive, so you could walk to the Sackville Sports Stadium. And
Right.
I was like, I just want to be able to go to the gym after school. So, but you can't go on your own when you're. So you first of all, I'm pretty sure you have to be 12 or 13, whatever it was. We lied about my age.
Oh, really? Your
Yeah, I
parents did?
convinced my
funny.
mom. I'm like, just tell them I'm 12. Like, who cares? I'm not gonna know. So she's like, okay. So we lied and said that I was like a year older than I was. I can't remember if it was 12 or 13. So that I could do a couple of sessions with a personal trainer.
Nice.
Because once you've done these sessions with a personal trainer, then it's like, okay, you're allowed to be here on your own now. So I did, and then it was like all of grade 9 for sure, but maybe grade 8 too. I used to just like leave school and go to the gym, and I'd be down like running. Like I remember when you asked me like before if I was a runner at all, not today, but then I used to run a ton. One time I got on the treadmill and ran a half marathon, just
because.
cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I've probably taken some ephedrine.
Right? Hey,
And I was like, let's do this thing.
we'll have to go for a run, see if you still got it in you.
Yeah, I don't. I can guarantee you. Like, I do not. I went for a run the other day because it's like part of the challenge that I'm running right now. And it's like, you just have to run I took actually, I don't know if you've heard of the like Couch to 5K.
I think I've seen you post something about it.
Yeah. So like, well, the Couch to 5K is not my program, but it's like a well-known one, and it basically takes you supposedly from being a couch potato to being able to run 5K.
Yeah.
So it's like, run a kilometer or walk a brisk walk, like 1.5 kilometers, and then you go up to 2 kilometers, and then back to 1.5, and then 2.5. So I implemented something similar to that into the program that I'm running right now, my Next 90 challenge. And yeah, anyways, I did 2 kilometers the other day, and I was like,
yeah, I think you'd be surprised though how quickly you will progress. It's just
100%.
like we just got back to it. It's like you can't just post one piece of content and be, TikTok superstar.
No.
And you're not going to be an ultra marathon runner after day one running. So it's like you say, it's just like anything. And I think that's where people get lost. It's just like they want instant gratification for the one thing that they did they think is awesome, but you got to do so many good things.
So many good things. And
before you get any return.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And like the reality is, it's like, exactly what you said. Well, but like I put all, especially if you feel like you're pumping out high quality content, like anybody that works in the online space and like making content is your job basically, or it's a large part of your job. You have an appreciation for the work that goes into it. And so if you post like even just one piece of really high quality content, and then you're like, fuck, it's not even performing. Like you do all this and it's like, this get 20 likes. Are you shitting me right now? Like, come on.
And you're wasting all your energy focusing on why you're not getting results instead of just producing more.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the reality is people don't give a shit. People have they just don't. Like people have
100%.
People have such short attention spans that we now as creators have to figure out how to
get them.
Like I've got to put I'm like putting a post, and even yesterday, like I posted a reel. It was like a funny little reel about like living a balanced summer and being able to still like have a glass of Prosecco with the girls and like have a bonfire and not feel bad about it while you're, getting fit. And I'm like, okay, trying to figure out. So I just put day drinking as like the scroll stopping thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So you're constantly trying to figure out like, sex. Okay, cool. Now that I have your attention, right?
Yeah.
So you're constantly just.
Well, you want that hook, right? I'm not good at it either because I'll just go do my thing, but I got to work on the hooks too.
Yeah, just constantly trying to figure out, how do I grab the attention of people for more? It's crazy. So crazy.
It is.
We're all just overstimulated and just so used to that constant dopamine, right? Of like likes and comments and new video, new all the time, right?
I hate how addicted I am to like the analytics.
Oh my God.
It's a problem. I don't think people talk about it enough.
Yeah.
But I've even caught myself. I'm like, man, I'm not even like, wife sitting on the couch. I'm just looking like, how many views is this?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, it's like, it's like a love-hate thing. Like I love doing it, but I hate how glued I am to like looking at how it's performing. Because obviously there's some degree of like analytics because you want to do or create content that's going to be good.
Yeah.
But then there's like, that balance where you're trying to not be like consumed by it. And I find like it's tough.
Dude, Ben is like actually like literally just this morning, Ben was like getting so frustrated with me. He's like, get off your fucking phone.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking in my
addicted.
head.
I'm just like, I catch myself sometimes. I'm just like, I can't even admit to you what my average screen time is.
I don't look.
Don't.
I don't look.
If you're anything like me, don't look.
Yeah.
It's alarming because now here's the thing though, like you run your business from your phone and, you create content from your phone. Seriously, I have a hard time like thinking of pockets in my day where I could be like, when can I actually seriously not be on this? Other than like, now I'm trying to make it a habit to just like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Me, it's like after 8, fuck off. Like I can't.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. 6
if
is
you're
tough.
messaging me to buy a house at 8, I mean, come on. Like just call me in the morning.
Right.
I mean, unless it's like, I don't know. There'd be some specific circumstances, but it's like, I'm up at 5. I'm in bed by 9:30. I need an hour to just like
decompress,
shut my brain off, watch a Netflix show.
So what do you do? Is that your like that's your sort of like
if I
cool
can't
down?
if I can't just like lay on the couch for like at least 45 minutes before I go to bed, it's like it's
oh my God,
it just destroys my.
I know.
Yeah, it just ruins me.
I know. It's crazy. So like for us, it's like we have to put the kids down, and like in an ideal world, sure, they would go down at like 7:30, but they just don't. Like they're up and they're kind of like this until
You got to shuffle back in the room. And
so like, yeah, until like 8:30. And then it's like, if I want to get up at 5, which like I have an alarm that goes off at 4:45 every single day. And lately, I'm not gonna lie, last couple of weeks I've been really slacking on snoozing it. But the ideal circumstance for me would be to be in bed and asleep by 10 o'clock for sure.
Me, that's
so,
max.
Yeah,
latest.
like my max. I know like if the time is beyond 10 o'clock, I will just like adjust the alarm to like 5 something because I'm just like, this is just not happening. I can't get up if the number starts with 4, I am not getting up unless the number is below 10 when I need to go to bed, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
And it's so important. But when you actually do though, like when you get that mastered, when you're like, no, I'm in bed before 10 and I'm up at 5, it's the best feeling ever for me. If you're a morning person, like I don't understand people that aren't morning people. I'm like, you first woke up, like you're fresh.
What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? Or I think the other thing too is just like, I don't know. There's got to be an element of it of it's just like, Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. Do you know Joe Dispenza? Yeah. So he gets and he talks about how people can't get out of bed in the morning. And like the reason why they can't get out of bed in the morning is because they know everything that's going to happen. They've lived the same day over and over and over again. If they're not in the process of like building anything new or learning anything new or doing anything new,
I get bored really
You're
easy.
just so bored. So of course you don't want to get out of bed. Right. And I think that you get in a rut. And I think I struggle with that. Like I've been on fire with like my business and my energy and fitness and everything like that since like when the New Year rolled over. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't usually get super fired up about New Year's stuff. But
I don't.
This year I was like, I took it very seriously. I got
New
the
Year's.
board. I got the calendars out. I got the boards out, the lists. Like I made a vision board. I made a vision
like
board.
Resolutions, you mean?
Like I made not a resolution because I'm not into those, but it was just like,
your goal.
This is what I'm doing this year.
Okay.
Period. Right. So these are my goals for the year. This is my plan. You know, if I want X number of clients at X number of dollars per month, I need to have X number, you know, if I want to make X number of dollars this year, like I have it mapped out, like quarter by quarter. This is what I need to be at. And I put it all on a board and I went like 10-year, half the vision board is for 10 years, half the vision board is for this year. And I put it up on the wall right outside my shower.
I was just gonna ask where
Yeah, I put it on the wall right outside my shower
every day.
Yeah, and then I made like a tracker on a whiteboard to like track my sales and my leads and all of that stuff, and I put that's right beside my bed. It's the very first thing that I see when I wake up in the morning.
That's great.
So, but that's like the first year that I've done that. But here's the thing: as we came to the end, so when we were like, the other thing that we were like, we like to party a little bit on the weekends and stuff. So, but we're completely fucking useless when we do it.
Right.
It ruins everything. So, so we just have to be like really mindful about like how we choose to how and when we choose to do it. So we're like, all right, I'm not doing anything. I just need to push all of my social obligations to the side. I'm doing nothing but just like tunnel vision on work for the next like few months. And so as we're coming to the end of the first quarter of the year, I'm like, I am so burnt out. Fuck. And I like start to notice that. And then that's normally when I just go boop, 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 boop. And then it's like I'm getting up at 7 and I'm not getting up on time and my house is messier and I'm not as on the ball. So I think a lot of times what will happen is like if you're the type of person that goes pedal to the metal and like you like to go, get up at 5, in bed early, keep the house good. Like the kids are, for me, it's like kids are taken care of. I've got all their shit together all the time. Like eventually something's got to give. Like you're not a machine, right? And I
treat myself like one.
Yeah, so. And like sometimes we can really trick ourselves into it being like, no, I got this. I can do this because you sure can. Like for a period of time, but everyone is going to hit a wall eventually. And I work with my clients on this all the time. It's not about trying to avoid hitting a wall. You're gonna hit a wall if you're a human being. If you are operating at that high of a capacity for any period of time, it's not a matter of if but when you burn out. So the important part is to start to train yourself to notice when you're burning out so that you don't go from 100 to 0. Maybe you just go from like 100 to like 70 for like a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? And then a period of time where you shut it down to 0.
You need
just for a minute, a day, a couple days, whatever. And then you're back up to 70 and then you can keep taking along 70. And then guess what? Like seasons will happen and things will come along where like you're back up to 100 again. But if you can shorten the amount of time that it takes you to notice that you've fallen completely off track, right? Like to just less and less time each time. People talk about like falling off the wagon.
Yeah.
It's not about not falling off the wagon. There is really no wagon, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So it's not about not fucking up is the better way to put it. I'm not allowed to swear on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. So, because I'm gonna. There'll be a lot of beeps in this episode.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's not about not fucking up. It's about shortening the amount of time that it takes you to realize that you have fucked up or that you have fallen off track or you're sort of, losing it a little bit. And then eventually it takes you, maybe when you're first getting started, working on a new business or working on your fitness goals or whatever it is, maybe it takes you months, right? Like, I think a lot of people, that's the thing. It takes them, oh, shit, like I've gained 20 pounds. Like it's been 6 months since I've been consistent in the gym, right?
Right.
Versus now I think I'm not perfect. But I'm sure you're the same. It's just, it takes you a lot less time to notice that you've fallen off track. And that is the name of the game.
100%.
Right? There's always going to be fuck ups. But like, how long does it take you to realize that you're down here right now and then just like get yourself back up there?
100%.
Eventually it's like, hours. And really, really, really sharp people, like you look at like the highest performers in the world, they check in with themselves like every hour. Mm-hmm. Where am I at? Like, am I on track? Right? I don't know. I think that's an interesting concept.
100%. I mean, I'm like all go and not much woe, but like even recently, like, I've been doing this like foot like through the floor on the social media since like mid-December.
Yep.
I tag my guy that does all my listing photos in my Instagram profile, and he does help me with the editing of the podcast, but like I self-film everything, and then all my reels I do myself.
Yeah.
But, back to the burnout piece, like we're getting to the point soon where he's going to be scheduling and probably doing a lot of the editing too, because like I'm a huge Goggins Cam Hanes fan, and I'm always like, nobody cares, work harder, stay hard, fuck balance, but like man, some days I just look at my wife, I'm like, I'm not doing anything but what I want today. Like I need to maybe I did like a day and a half worth of batch content, and I scheduled it because I do all that too. Sometimes you just need a second or a couple hours. Go walk the dog. Go fishing. I do too much stuff is the problem.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's important. Like, balance is important, but getting to where you want to be, is for me is even more important. But do it in the right way where you can sustain it.
Yeah.
And recognize when you're having some struggles. But
100%.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask and let the viewers know too, like, your services, your trainer, wellness coach, specifically more so targeted to women, but also you said you're not opposed to working with men if it's the right fit.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the services, like what you provide, what benefits if somebody hires you, they can expect to see improvements in their life, like what? Tell us a little bit about that.
Nice opportunity for a good plug.
Yeah. Right.
So obviously, like I'm an online wellness coach. So I teach people basically how to live a healthy lifestyle. I teach them how to work out. I teach them how to eat properly, depending on their goals. But I'm really not like, I mean, sure, if you work with me, you will probably experience some form of body recomposition because that's just the way she goes. And a lot of people will come to me with those goals, but that's really not like my main shtick. I'm very much like, I like to teach people how to live a balanced lifestyle. If you have a goal, if you're a female and you have a goal of being like 10% body fat, like don't hire me.
Right.
I don't have an interest in like
dieting
teaching
you down to nothing.
Yeah. Dieting you down to nothing, burning you out, ruining your metabolism, fucking up your hormones. That's just not my jam. Yeah. And by the same token, also like, I feel like I'm also not, I think that as an online coach, there are a lot of people that try to play in wheelhouses where like they don't belong. So it's like, know your strengths. For me, like if you want balance, if you want to figure out like how to manage your time better to literally just make the time to build healthy habits, you need to learn like consistency. You want someone to be your hype girl. You want to build confidence. That's really my wheelhouse. I feel like that's more my strength the fact that I just happen to have like years of experience and know a lot about like how to diet properly and how to work out, those are very like second to really what I work with people on. It's like, it is a big part of it. I teach people how to do that, but it's much more about, just like kind of getting inside your head and figuring out like what makes you tick the way you tick, and like what's also going on in your life. Like, are you working a job that you hate? Are you in a relationship that like with somebody that you can't stand? Or do you feel stuck? Like, are you struggling with parenting? Like, what's the overall scope and like landscape of your life right now? And then once we get a handle on that, I help you actually just tangibly figure out how to manage your time and how to get it in there. And then as a nice bonus, I also give you wicked workouts and teach and give a zillion really awesome recipes and like teach you how to grocery shop and how to stock your pantry and like all of these things. So it's really holistic, the approach that I use. And I think it's great if people come to me and like a very, very like core value that I have in my business. And I knew that this was true when I started it, is if your goals are only physical, great. I think that like that's awesome, and I will help you, but I will always try to uncover sort of like why. You know, if you come to me and you're very blatantly obese and you have like a huge weight loss goal, okay, I can for sure help you out with that. And at the same time, I will figure out what is it that you're actually after, right? Like, because a lot of times if people come to you and they have a body recomposition goal, you think that losing weight or getting to a certain body fat percentage or having a tight butt or a 6-pack of abs or like sculpted arms in your tank top or whatever else the media sells you, what you're really after is a certain feeling, right? So you want confidence, you want to feel sexy, you want to feel like, you know, wanted by your partner or accepted by people or loved or whatever. It's usually emotions and feelings that you're after, not just a physical, tangible thing that you can see. So I have all of the time for people that come to me that have those goals, but I will always, always try to reverse engineer it and figure out like kind of what's the deeper root of that goal, you know, and try and hold space for people who maybe aren't at a point in their journey yet where they do have all of the love and acceptance and everything for themselves, and help them work on that. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of the type of coaching that I offer.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. I mean, you know, my experience with coaches, and I mean, I had some pretty good ones, but it was more in the competitive sphere.
Totally.
You know, they were very much focused on the result, and, you know, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much about who Chris is, why are you doing these things. So, and I think it's important, you know, in any business, it's like, you know, why am I a realtor? You know, I want to help people get out of whatever situation they're in and elevate them to the next chapter of their life. Now, whether that's buying their first home, selling their starter home, upgrading to their forever home, which, you know, we're doing that with some clients right now.
Mm-hmm.
Super fulfilling. I'm not there. Yeah. You know what? You hired me. I provide a service. I get paid for it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me is like, well, we always got to put a plan together. And it's like, you know, I got clients right now. They got, they got long-term plans. They got short-term financial plans.
Yeah.
You know, they had some changes in their lives that, you know, they've shared and, you know, justified why we're making these changes. And oftentimes, like, to understand what people really want, you need to fact find that stuff. It's like, well, 100%. We want to buy a new house. It's like, well, why? Like, what are you?
Right.
What are your aspirations? What are your goals? I mean, it's not my job to coach people.
Yeah, but it kind of
towards them. But it's like I want to direct them and set them up that like the house we're getting is going to align with their life goals. So that's super awesome that you're really focused on like why they want to get there and helping them kind of get to that realization.
Yeah.
And like hopefully that continues to keep them motivated. So then maybe if they don't keep you on long term, then you know that when they're done with your program and you check in, they're still doing great because you set them up for that.
100%. And that's like a huge, so 2 points. So just remind me to come back to education, but to touch on what you said, like, I think that the reason why I want to hold space for those people who come to me who like have those physical goals. If somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to lose 20 pounds, I'm like, okay, absolutely. Get it, girlfriend. I get you. I feel you. It's fine. If you have physical goals, like, let's go. Let's get you that.
Hey, everybody likes feeling
get
good,
that big round
good.
butt and like whatever you're after. I get it. But again, always reverse engineering that. But at the same time, I have a lot of people like now I feel like it's very black and white on the internet. There's still the very sort of like, I believe, outdated, old school, like get your like toned tank top arms, like toned in 20 days or whatever. Like, you know, there's a lot of that.
It's all bullshit.
And I think like that's fine, because the thing is, you really, really have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to have a lot of integrity as a coach in this space to not sell that way.
There's a lot of people
I think because there's a lot of people that, and I'm not like hating on coaches that do it. I get it. It sells programs. It also gets people awesome results. And like, sometimes that's what they want, and like, good for you. I'm not hating on it.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in my business. I tried it. I literally am not even going to lie. I did probably a month ago. I posted a before and after photo of a client, and I took it down because I just was like, nope. Wasn't your jam. It was very well performing post. I got traction from it. I got messages from it. People looking for took it down because I'm just like, I don't stand by that. I don't like it. I don't like the messaging. It's not going to be me in my business, and I don't judge anybody else that does it. I understand why you do it, but then there's this other whole side of the internet that's the fluffy, like body positivity, and we love every wrinkle and dimple and like curve and it's like, okay, I love what you're putting out and I love what you're saying, but I also don't buy it totally. It doesn't feel really authentic to me. And kudos to anybody that has like, especially like, and it's not just women, it's men. There's pressure on men to look and behave and act in certain ways. Yep. I think there's a lot of, you know, heat on the people like to say, oh, there's all these pressures on women. And there is a special set.
It's all performance pressure on us, I think.
Yeah. And also like an emotionally stifling sort of thing that you guys deal with too. But for women, I think it's like, there's this, buy your like toned tank top arms and your 6-pack abs and this and that, and buy this program is going to shred 50 pounds in 5 weeks and whatever. And then there's the like, well, I just love every single thing about myself and I don't need all this. It's like, can we find a middle ground here?
Right.
And that really is what my goal was with like the underlying drive of what I do with my clients is it's like, I want to hold space for you and I want to hold space for you. And then I want to help sort of like, like I would never try and talk anyone out of this. If you really do, if you're loving on yourself and you're cool with everything. But I think that full body positivity for most people is like a real stretch. It's a real stretch to be like, I love everything in my exact form as I am. I think it's very inhuman to think that. It's unrealistic. And I think that if you can, maybe the middle ground for me would be like a body as opposed to positivity, more like a neutrality or like acceptance, right? So I like to work with people on, if you want to lose 40 pounds and you want to have like a full body recomposition and this crazy transformation, I will absolutely like support you every single step of the way. But I will absolutely not tolerate listening to you talk shit about yourself every single day until you get there. So how do we get you to a point where you can at least just accept or be more neutral about like where you are while you're in the process of working on becoming whatever it is you want to become? So that, number one, it makes the process way more enjoyable. And number two, I hate to burst your bubble, dude, but the process does not ever end. There's not going to be some finite, magical point that you come to where all of a sudden you're like, no, I just love everything about the way that I am right now.
And then you just stop.
No, that's not existent. It is a constant journey and a constant process. So if you can, like I said, learn to sort of just accept where you are more fully in the process of becoming whatever you're trying to become, you're gonna learn to actually enjoy the process of like always becoming better. And it just becomes like a project, not this thing that you need to fix about yourself all the time. It's just like, I'm just working to be better. And then wherever I end up, I end up.
Yeah, I think that leads in. You mentioned education, and just a segue for me is like, understanding why you're doing it, I think gives you a ton of value.
So much.
To continue to do it.
Yes. Yeah, like I say to my clients all the time, like every sales call that I get on, like I'm always just like, love ya. And if you want to hire me and like we want to work together for the next 10 years, then like who knows? I'll probably be bored of this after 10 years. But, but if you want to hire me and you want to work with me for years, like, cool. And like, happy to help. But ideally, I would work with you for like a maximum of like a year.
Yeah, you should be able to get a handle on yourself. Yeah,
because I think because the goal is, I think a lot of coaches, and I'm not just talking fitness coaches, I think business coaches, I think people who, there's like so many people now who work in the like coaches of coaches space and the business coaches of business coaches and the, I teaching online courses and everything. So I think that one of my least favorite things that I see people do is like when they hold all their cards really close to their chest and it's like, oh, these are my secrets. It's like, I didn't invent a fucking calorie deficit, dude.
Right.
Like, I didn't invent a macro. That's not my intellectual property. I will shout it from the mountaintops. And if I can just like hop on a private call with you once a week though, and like really, take some time to teach you about nutrition. Like, I've worked with people like, currently even like working with people who have like big time like disordered eating issues and stuff like that. And it comes from a lack of education a lot of times. It's like people they don't know. They have no idea.
They don't know
how to feed themselves. So if I'm going to work with you for a limited amount of time, it is my goal. And like the foundation of what I do with my clients is like, I want to teach you as much as I possibly can in the time that we work together so that you don't need me. Hopefully you're educated enough by the end of us working together that you can then go and pass everything that you learned along to your mommy and your auntie and your cousin and your sister. And like, because the name of the game is, it's not like, yeah, cool. Like, we all want to make money, man. But we're going to make, if I really do believe that like, if you are more like focused on the impact that you're making as opposed to the paycheck that you're going to get, 100%. Which you talked about this earlier, then like, it's just going to come when you're not coming and operating from a scarcity mentality or a place of lack. Like, you are going to just attract more, not to sound too like woo woo or whatever, but I do believe in that, true. Right? You're going to attract people into your network and opportunities into your life because people are just going to want to be around you because you're providing them value and you're providing them energy, right? 100%. Like, that's what people want is like, especially in my business, I know for sure. It's like people, when they hire a coach, they just want to know that there is an energy source out there somewhere that gives a fuck. Right. If they went to the gym or if they have been eating healthy and whatever, it's that accountability and that knowing that 100%. Like, oh, I'm going to have to get on the call with Chloe and I don't want to tell her that I didn't do the things, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing, like huge accountability. That's a big portion of it. And it's like, the secrets. It's like, I haven't been doing this social media gig like as I've been doing it for long, but like the amount of realtors that are like, how are you doing all that? What are you using? And it's like, it's not a secret. Right. I use the Captions app. I use CapCut.
I just saw you just got Captions the other day. Yeah.
I do Adobe, Premiere. I got some support from my buddy Noah at NJ Media.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. And, I'll tell you everything. I use AI. I use ChatGPT. I'll write everything I do down. Yeah. For my take it. You got to fucking do it.
100%.
Because guess what?
It's a lot of work.
I'll never give up.
Yeah. I think there's so much. There's so much.
So go do it. Here, take everything I have. You want to use my gear? Come sit in my office, do videos. I don't give a shit.
100%. And
you got to do the work. Yes. I can't do it for you. I can give you all the tools, the program, the script, the schedule. I got my schedule up there.
Yeah. If you want to do it, man, you go ahead. And
it's not magic.
Get ready to pull your fucking socks up and work, right?
I've had over 100 videos since mid-December on YouTube.
Holy shit. Good for you. Yeah. That's so good. That's so much work.
Only got 30 subscribers, so like and subscribe.
Yeah. Hey, man, but at the end of the day, it's not just about, like, again, it's not just about the subscribers or the likes or the analytics or whatever. It's about, but it's yes, you're making it for people, but at the same time, though, it is about you because it's about, again, like who you're becoming in the process, what you're learning in the process, all of the experience that you're having. Yeah, like it's you. There will never come a day where you look back. This is how I look at it. There will never, ever come a day where you look back on this season of your life that you've been in. So you talk like the big sort of like line in the sand for you was about like mid-December. You were like, I'm really going to turn this shit up. So there will never, ever come a time in your life where you look back on this phase and you're like, like geez, that was all a wash. Even if you're not selling real estate down the line or what, like no matter what, no matter
Right.
where you end up, you'll never be like, oh, that was just so stupid. That was for nothing. It's like, no, you learned so much, right? There's so much valuable experience there and just character building. Like when you're constantly doing shit that's hard, it builds character.
People don't get that.
You know? And I think that's why I love what you said about how you're like, you know, people that, you know, from a bird's eye view, it's like you're competing with them, other realtors. Like, but the reason why you don't mind telling anyone your secrets is because you believe in you. Right. Yeah. So you're like,
you can't reproduce me.
I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, I'm in an extremely saturated market, but I'll hop on a call with any other coach and be like, you want to know how I like made my content? You want to know how I built this app? Or, you know, like now I was building my own app, but now I just use Everfit, which is fucking sweet. I was a year and a half into the development process of building an app, which is as much of a nightmare as you would picture.
Yeah, tedious. Absolutely.
Tedious does not even begin to describe it. As I was working with developers like from overseas. So there was a huge language barrier, 8.5 hour time difference, and nice guys like that I was working with. But I mean, to try to describe like, I want you to move this one button 1/4 of an inch over. And I was just like, but I can't do it. Right? Like I can't do it myself. And I just want to grab the controls so bad and just be like, can I do this? But I can't because I don't know how to write code. But anyways, yeah, like I would hop on a call with any other coach and be like, yeah, I'll give you anything that you want to know that I know. There's going to be things that you know that I don't know. And the way that I see it is it's like one of the biggest things that I've done to level up my business is join a mastermind. So like this coach that I just hired, I'm now, it's like a group coaching, like mastermind program that I'm in for the next 6 months. And so I'm in you should for sure investigate this. If you aren't in one or don't have one, you're totally the kind of guy that would create one. You know, like as opposed to thinking of the people who work in the same space as you as your competition, like think of them like they're your allies, man. You should be playing for the same team, and you will for sure come up against people who have that mentality of like competitiveness, and it's fine to be competitive, but like you also have to understand that the people that are doing the same things as you can provide you value just as much you them. So now I'm in a group of like 20 other online fitness coaches that are like all over the US and Canada. And we all might have like unique niches or whatever, but we're all kind of working on the same thing. There's also like relationship coaches and all that, but it's the same kind of concept.
It's best practice sharing. It's the ultimate way of learning.
Like, that was how I learned about the captions thing. Like one of the girls from there, I was like, okay, girlfriend, like I love your captions. Where are they from? And she was like, it's a captions app. So then there you go. There's one thing. And anytime that I get stuck now, I'm like, okay, I'm launching this new program. I'm coming up against this hiccup. I'm not getting any traction on this. And then they're like, do a live, do a masterclass, like do this. Like they'll give you 7 ideas. And then next week you're like, cash is rolling in. People are signing up. It is by far, if there is anyone that is like just getting started in something, like this is very much in its infancy too. But if you aren't in a masterclass, if you don't have, and it doesn't have to be necessarily formal, but if you don't have a group of people that are trying to do the same thing as you, that you are in chats with and bouncing ideas off of and whatever, like, oh my God, you're selling yourself short.
Yeah.
It's such a massive value add. And it was one that I did is not cheap, but it was the most worthwhile investment that I've made in my business to date.
100%. I can attest to that. I come at real estate, like I ran a team for Unilever. I had 9 reps, 6 regional accounts, 3 distributors.
Yeah.
Anyway, all the hats for Atlantic Canada.
Yeah.
And when I come into real estate, I kind of took an approach where I was like, fuck it. They're all my competitors, so it's just me.
Right.
I'm just going to do me.
It's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Screw everyone else.
Yeah.
Like I took some information maybe too seriously, don't cater too much to like all the brokerage stuff, and you'll have plenty of time to talk to other realtors, like focus on selling and clients and, networking and da-da-da-da. And I think like that might've been the wrong approach. Cause to your point, since I've been with Remax, I switched brokerages. I was with Royal LePage. I switched to Remax.
Yeah.
That alone was a game changer.
Yeah.
Cause they didn't treat people like that.
Yes.
I walked in. Most people didn't know who I was from a hole in the ground. They were like, hey,
like, what do you need?
What do you need? Who are you? What's going on? Like,
yes.
Oh, I'm from Royal. I think I'm going to sign. Oh yeah, we'd love to have you. They were having a barbecue. They're like, want a burger, beer.
It's community.
And like no, but you ask somebody there anything. Somebody's answering the phone. They'll answer your question.
Yeah.
Could be the best realtor in the brokerage. Could be, you know, middle of the pack. Could be somebody else starting out. Maybe they do have more information than you in some sphere. And everybody there is willing to share. Naz, Craig, Ryan, the brokers, Jennifer, they're all awesome. And, you know, they just run a brokerage like a business, like it should be ran. It's not, they don't run a Mickey Mouse operation. There's communication. We know what's going on. We got market stats, and everybody gets along. And when we get into deals, like I'm in a deal right now, hopefully be close, you know, not firm, but like hopefully we'll get an accepted offer by the end of next week. And it's like, I love working with people from Remax because we're all working on the same shit. We're all in the same boat. We want the big ship to be number one.
Big time.
And, you know, there's no reason to treat people in your industry, although they may be competitors, you know, if they're in another province, who cares? Or, you know, they could be next door. You know, you could be able to learn from them, and who knows, you might need them someday.
I think that anyone, like, you know, everybody that you meet has something to teach you. If you talk to them for long enough, everybody that you meet is going to have something that they can teach you. They're going to have had some experience that will be very unique to you, or they'll have a, you know, whatever story that could change your perspective on something. Like anyone, everybody that you meet has something to teach you. And I think that when people are very competitive people and they're not open to working and collaborating with people like that, I find it's always a matter of just like a lacking self-esteem, self-confidence. Like it's just insecurities, right? So when people are very insecure, they feel the constant need to prove themselves, the constant need to be better than everybody else. And then they're less open to opportunities like that, right?
100%.
Which is totally shoots you in the foot, because as you just said, it's like the biggest way that you can level up your business, especially as like a solo, you know, like a sole proprietor, like online entrepreneur. If you're like, even something as simple as like, man, working from home, it was just like killing me. So I just started, for me, I'm such an extroverted person, it's a shocker. And so I was like, so now like we live in Fall River, but I drive in and go to like Cortado is my favorite coffee shop. And I go work from Cortado, like literally Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, I work out of a coffee shop because I just can't get into the same like creative space. And I'm not even kidding you. Like even just yesterday, there were 2 different, it's funny, it was like a networking thing. Like I've bumped into like 4 potential clients there that are girls that will come over and like sit down at the table with me and now have chats with me that I don't know them through a hole in the wall. But next thing we're talking about business and life and whatever. And it's just because I put myself in that environment.
Isn't that great?
It's the best. Yeah. Like it's
so organic.
It's awesome. Yeah, I know. And I've even ran into like this one girl I ran into was like a past hair client. And then she was like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, oh, like I'm a mom and I'm an online fitness coach and whatever. She's like, oh my God, can I hire you? I'm like, sure.
Right.
So now we're in chat. So anyways, it's the people, and then, you know, by the same token, yes, the professional relationships that you build are obviously important. And when you can work with people in a capacity where like that is specifically what you guys are working on together, that's what you're going to support each other on. Similarly, I think that, you know, if you have like these really big goals and aspirations, it's been said time and again, but it's just the circle that you run in
100%.
And the people, your social connections and the friends that you have, like, you can't expect your friends and family to be your number one supporter of your business financially. But if the people that are closest to you aren't like cheering you on and like excited for what you have going on a little bit, like that's a problem.
Yeah, I had to do some major jigging to my circle.
Yeah.
Sure. And, blame it on the last 3 years of what we had to go through or whatever, the pandemic and all the craziness. But like the hardest part of growing and like maturing and getting older, like nothing stays the same, and you kind of gotta accept it. And I guess a tough thing for me was like the people that I would have went to bat for anytime, you know, just really weren't there to that degree for me. And for me, that's like, yeah, I mean, I guess we're still friends and, you know, whatever, like I'm not making any grand gestures, but like, you can tell who's there for you and who's not. So like naturally I've made a shift towards gravitating to people that want our energy, want us around, and they're asking for our time. You want my time? Anyone asking for my time, man, I'm happy to give it to you. If you want it,
100%. Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't want it, fuck you. We don't care. Like, whatever.
Yeah. And
like, you know, do your thing, no ill will, but like, I'm into people that want me for what I'm putting out and who I am. And if that's not good enough for you, I'm sorry, I'm not changing.
No.
And I'm not saying that I don't change. I change and I grow, and I'm always working on myself. Mindfulness books, winning with friends, always trying to good to great, always trying to be better. But I can definitely attest to that. Like, collaborating with people and, lining up with people that are motivated and driven, might not be in the same industry, but they very well could be. And it's when I kind of made that shift and started exposing myself to people that were like motivated and, working towards the same things, it was just like a big eye opener that it's like, it's okay that things are changing. Yeah, it sucks and it's tough, but that acceptance piece was a big thing for me. And also like, getting over the nerves of like starting something like this. Cause like, very much I'm thinking
what are people going to think?
Right. What are they going
to think? Look at him doing a podcast, or look at him. He's going to be a realtor now.
Big shot realtor guy, podcast guy, social media guy. Oh my God.
The like imposter syndrome.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's
so
the
real.
thing. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, well, what are you doing?
Not only that, but I think like, so a good friend of mine I remember like talking to him about, this is when I was already like, I'm like a year into like building this app, and I had like done the soft launch of my business and whatever. And I said something, can't remember. We were having some drinks, but I said something like, and I know like I'm young, or I know I look at whatever, I'm like just getting started or whatever. And he was just like, whoa. And it was totally out of nowhere that he did. And it's not someone that would normally like kind of call you out on something, but he was kind of like, that's really interesting that you would say that. Like, that's just like being like knowing you, like just in the capacity that I do and knowing what you do. It's really interesting that you would talk about yourself in the way of like not being qualified, or like,
that's
what I mean?
Huge hurdle
like,
for me.
Right. It's like, he's like, that's really interesting that you would say that. You shouldn't say that about yourself. Like, he's like, dude, you're like almost 30 years old. You're completely obsessed with fitness and nutrition and everything. This has been your life for like as long as it has been.
Bring the confidence.
Why would you not be? Why? Right. But it's like, yeah, but I'm year one of my business and stuff, like, which is true. And I think that you really, man, like really got to work. I
was of the same mentality. Like when I started as a realtor, there's a confidence aspect to like, when you start and like, sometimes you get in that negative kind of mind space and self-talk, and you just think that that's what you kind of got to go through because you're new, your first year, you're whatever. But I found like people can like see that. So
they can smell it from a mile away,
they're
right?
Like,
they
this guy's
smell fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I like, obviously like this has helped, like the engagement with my content and the feedback. And I'm sure you can attest to the same. It was super nerve-wracking to put yourself out there. And now I'm so out there. It's almost like some days I'm like a little anxious because I'm like, man, my face is everywhere. Like I looked at my Facebook business page. Analytics, and I don't know. Do you have a Facebook business page? You might want to make one because I had 70,000 views on last 28 days on my page.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
That's
I didn't
insane.
even know.
Man, good for you. So when I did the soft launch of my business, it was like coached by Crowell. Then I actually like renamed my business to Get Coached because I was like building the app, and I thought that was a little bit more scalable. And now it's just me again, and I don't know. The plan would be, I guess, I don't really eventually like. I don't know if I want like a full team of like trainers underneath me. Like, I don't know if I have an interest in doing that. I kind of like just being like a solo gal. Anywho, yeah. So I do have, it was like coached by Crowell, and then I changed it to Get Coached Fitness and Nutrition. And I don't know. I have like 200 or 300 like followers on the page. It's not a lot.
Yeah,
I just
me
haven't
neither.
put
But
any
that's
effort.
the thing. I guess like Facebook Reels, Gary Vee.
Oh, Gary Vee has been saying so.
Right.
So that's what's going on with that.
They're pushing
So I should be pushing. So I do think I do push the Reels to there though.
Yeah.
So they go there now.
As long as they do. That's
But yeah.
But
so
I didn't even look at it. I was just like, oh, I'll check. And
Yeah.
I sent it to my guy that kind of mentors me on my social, and he was like, that's really good.
That's crazy. Yeah, you talk about the anxiety of like putting yourself out there. Like I think the I love the expression. I don't know if you've heard this before, but have you ever heard of a vulnerability hangover?
Yes.
And I'm like, you talk about a vulnerability hangover. Like, I mean, just lately, I don't really know what inspired it. It was, so it was when I started working with this new coach, and she was like, you got to niche down. Actually said, niche down.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try this on for size. So I'm just going to put change my Instagram bio to I help I help like burnt out, exhausted women with ADHD, whatever, get their shit together, basically, is more or less the point of it. And anyway, so I was just like, I'm just going to put this in my bio and just see what happens. And then like within 24 hours, I had like 2 messages from people being like, oh my God, I can't believe like you teach with ADHD. And I was like, holy shit, this really works. So it's super specific. But anyway, so I just tried that on. And then I was like, okay, well, fuck, I can't just like put that in my bio and then away you go. I have to start creating content that caters to this. So I just thought, okay, well, fuck, I eventually knew like all of this. My experience, like I didn't realize how much it actually was centered around ADHD until I actually created the series. But I mean, talk about cracking yourself wide open on the internet. I got right into the like all of my, and there's just so much more that I could go into, and I probably will. But all of just like my struggles as like a little kid and like what that looked like growing up, and like how that then affected my self-esteem, which then affected like all of my relationships, and how I showed up in all of my romantic relationships and friendships, and just sort of the ripple effect that had on my life. And anyways, it was just super cathartic in a way to sort of like crack myself open on the internet like that. But now I'm like, oh my God, now that content's just like out floating around there, and like anyone can go look at it at any time. It's like, hey, you want to know literally anything about me? There's a lot there.
That's what people want. They want to relate. They want, it's genuine. It's, you put yourself out there, and people know that like through that content, like it's a comfort level thing. It's like, well, if she's going to put herself out there for us, then what can she do for me?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it has been, like ultimately, if you want to talk like kind of grand scheme, and I mean, we've all got goals, like long-term goals and stuff like that. But I really do truly believe that like my purpose on this earth is to help young women navigate similar struggles to what I dealt with. And so for me, I think fitness, clearly I think is probably coming through that. Like for me, the fitness nutrition aspect of it is like, it's a skill that I have, like it's knowledge that I have, so I can teach people how to do it, but it's certainly not the bread and butter of what I do. What I do is more like life coaching and, personal development work with people and stuff like that. So ultimately, I think fitness is such a great medium that you can, use to kind of immediately connect with people at like a surface level, and then very quickly it escalates into something much more than that. And so yeah, I think that's kind of like grand scheme, like my sort of goal and dream would be like, if I could get as many 15-year-old girls into one auditorium as possible, and then just have the opportunity to sit down and just be like, here's the thing, you know what I mean? And just like help them navigate all of what they might be going through kind of that time in their life, like young adults, like that would be my ultimate goal. And so right back to like starting to, for instance, this might sound silly, but even just starting to teach group fitness, for me, like I was not confident or comfortable, like first of all, like speaking into a microphone, speaking to groups of people, like I'm not shy, but there's a really big difference between miking up and cameraing up and speaking to a full audience of people or whatever is like very, very different like version of public speaking. So anyways, when I got into teaching fitness and personal training and all that, the ultimate goal was I know that if I want to do this is the evolution of like how I'm going to need to grow in the meantime. Because if I want to do this, well, first of all, right now I have no speaking skills. I am not confident speaking into a mic. I would be petrified to get up in front of an audience and speak. And also, I'm not comfortable enough yet sharing the stories that I'll need to share to really properly like land what I want to say and make an impact. So I had to do all of this growth, which it's just so honestly, like, again, it might sound like silly or whatever, but doing that series for me was like a huge, huge sort of milestone that it kind of just like, it was almost shocking to me that it just fell into my lap as like, here you go. Here's your chance to do it. You know what I mean? Like to sort of get comfortable talking about this stuff that previously would have made me very uncomfortable, and to do it in a way that is public, that like, fuck, I mean, I guess it could technically come back to bite me in the ass. I don't see how, but this felt like the very obvious next step in this direction, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't start talking about what I want to talk about, I start putting myself in situations where I'm doing the work that I really want to be doing, then like that isn't gonna come.
Yeah, you're selling yourself short on your dream.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm somewhere between where I was when I started and then like really where I want to go. But I feel like kind of getting to this next phase of comfortability, opening up and sharing and talking about all of this. Now I'm like, oh, it really doesn't seem that far-fetched for me to be like, hey, look, I like go to like a school or something and be like, hey, look, what's up? I'm an online coach. I specialize in like personal development and like I coach women how to build confidence. I have XYZ, like so many stories that I can tell and whatever. Like, hey, can I take a crack at like speaking to students and talking about all this stuff? Like that doesn't seem like something that couldn't happen at all. Versus if I would have thought that 3 to 5 years ago, I would have been like, no fucking way.
I could try and help out with that. I know there's a lot of women at Remax. I mean, I think we're like 60-40 women, men. We got a huge, awesome boardroom.
Love that.
We might be able to try and get you in front of a few Remax like female realtors because they were kind of, unfortunately, there's been some issues like with random people like busting in on showings. Like women have been shown how. Anyway.
Okay.
They wanted to make sure they had like some safety procedures.
Okay.
For them, and it's much like a female-oriented group.
Okay.
So there could be some interest to be better, fitness, wellness,
health, wellness,
coaching.
Yeah.
A lot of them have kids. I mean, realtors are super busy sometimes.
Yes.
Some
they
of
were
us
like
aren't
such
best,
an ideal client
right?
for me. Realtors.
Time management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing all the stuff, but like not, like kind of like you're all over your house, and the next thing the husband's coming, all the things are open. It's like I feel like being a realtor, like that's very much like the tune of our day. Is like so many things are happening, and like it's
eating out of your car.
Yeah,
I know. I actually, man, I would love that if you connected me with some of them because
I'll chat with,
no joke. Like I follow a lot
gals.
of female realtors on my like social media, and if you're watching this and you're a female realtor, hit me up because. I feel like I actually like one of my longstanding clients is a realtor and, like there's just something to it. It's like you're super busy. You're like I said, you're like eating out of your car, eating in drive-thrus all the time. So you're on the beat. A lot of like, obviously, I feel like being a real estate agent also provides a lot of flexibility. So it does tend to attract that entrepreneurial sort of fly by the seat of your pants type. And oftentimes like that is women with children too, right? Because it's like you usually like you're drawn when you have kids, you're more drawn to something that provides you with more flexibility time-wise and stuff like that. So, realtors, my ideal client, like through and through. Yeah,
Sign
100%.
up.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do there.
Hit me up. Yeah, for sure.
Just got a couple questions. I don't mean to cut us short, but I got a couple commitments I got to get to, and I'm sure you got plenty of stuff to do too.
Absolutely.
So I'll kind of do like a two-parter. I know we kind of touched on a lot of stuff that drives you.
Yeah.
But what would you say really drives you to get up in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part to the question is like, you were originally in Halifax, you grew up here, you moved to Truro, you're back in the facts, and we're the Halifax Network here at the podcast, and I often like to ask like, why Halifax? Like if you were trying to tell somebody that's looking to move here or thinking about it from it could be from Canada, from another province, could be from another country. Yeah. Like, what would you have to say about why they should be here?
Okay. Okay. So part one, what drives me? Oh man. My kids, like my family and like, it's like my kids. I think, I'm like in, I guess, a unique situation. It's like not that unique, but a very privileged situation in that like I work very much like because I want to work.
Yeah.
I think that has come with like a whole slew of like just crazy judgments and stuff like that I would never have expected. Becoming a mom, I think that like when you are in a position where like you have kids and you're working as a woman because you have to work to like make ends meet, no one really bats an eye at that. But like if you are in a position where maybe you would have the option to not do it and then you do it anyways, it's like, well, why are you like abandoning your kids? They need you. Right. So I've definitely like I am very pro like if you want to, women should work and want to work. If you don't, and like you want to be home with your kids, then like great. But I really personally, and I think that there's so many benefits, amazing benefits to like having moms and dads at home with their kids, like when they're little like that. But at the same time, like I needed to sort of retroactively build my career after I had children. And I'm very, very passionate about, I want my kids to grow up and be like, not only like yeah, like look at my dad is a fucking hustler and he's fucking killing it. And like, look what he does. And also like, look at this representation of a woman that I have in my life that's like an extremely hard worker and built something. So I just like want my kids to point at me someday and be like, my mom is a fucking badass and like she changed the world.
Awesome.
That's ultimately what really drives me.
That's a great driver.
Yeah. And why Halifax? I just think Halifax is the best. I think like, man, I just love it. I love it. We're so close to the ocean. And I've mentioned before, like, I really love like the small business community around here is really great. I just think it's a good size. Like, you know, it's like small enough that, I mean, like I grew up in Lower Sackville, but like I know people from all walks and all places. Like I can't go out and not run into someone that I know somewhere. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I love that. I think also too, I think that it's cool because if you are like a really motivated person, you kind of have the opportunity to be like a big fish, little pond in a sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I love Atlantic Canada. I moved out to Edmonton for a little. I don't know if you remember that. That would have been before we were friends.
Yeah.
But
I think I might have heard.
Yeah. So at one point, like before, it was like right before I got into the like bodybuilding scene and whatever when we moved back. But yeah, I did like I left and I lived in Alberta for like a year and a half and not same. Not that there's anything wrong with Alberta, but it's just the people on the East Coast are the best. I'm actually I was born in St. John's, Newfoundland. Okay. So like I'm a full like Islander East Coast girl at heart. And yeah, I don't know.
Do they call you a come from away now?
A come from away? I mean, I've been here since I was like 4 and I don't speak like I come from away. Yeah, I don't speak Newfoundlandese, no. But yeah, I'm just
that's
definitely
the proper term.
Is it? Hey, it can be. But yeah, I don't know. I love the East Coast. I feel like the people are the best, and you know, I don't know what's going on. Probably because we're like global warming, but the weather seems to be improving.
Right?
Yeah, it really does. And if I left, I always like say, I want to live somewhere that like you know is just hot all the time. But I would miss all 4 seasons.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I'm a big advocate for Halifax. I love it. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. I'm looking forward to collaborating again because we didn't get to everything because we got some other stuff to do, but we'll gladly have you on again. Yeah. If you'd like. And I've been doing a bad job at this, but if you want to plug in where people can find you so we can highlight that in the video, where can they search you up? Are you on all platforms?
Yeah, I need to be doing a better job about like spreading myself across different platforms. My business page.
Buffer.
Yeah. My business page on Facebook is just Get Coached Fitness and Nutrition. And then on Instagram, just at coached.byclo.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, you heard it here first. Thanks again for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. You have a great day, and I'll definitely be following along, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. So.
We'll be chatting.
Awesome.
Okay.